Hello everyone again, I'm Dave Palumbo and I'm here to talk to you about post-workout nutrition. This is one of the most frequently asked questions that I receive on a daily basis. What and when do I eat post-workout? And it's pretty simple. When you train with weights or any kind of intense activity, you want to start the rebuilding, repairing process as quickly as possible. Now, there's been so many different, I guess you could say, formulas out there for what the best thing to do post-workout is that I think a lot of you guys are confused. And I'm just gonna clarify it with a few things. The first most important thing post-workout is to get an animal source of protein into the bloodstream rapidly. Why animal source? Because animal sources of protein, now that could be chicken, fish, meat, whey protein, any kind of dairy. Animal sources of protein have very high branched-chain amino acid residues. That means that these branched-chain amino acids have the ability, in simplistic terms, to turn the protein machinery on in your cells. In other words, that means it's like a switch. High branched-chain amino acids lead to on switch. Low branched-chain amino acids, the switch stays off. So if you take a soy protein post-workout, you're not going to get this response that you're looking for to start turning the protein machinery on, to make new proteins. So what's the threshold amount of protein you need to consume? 30 grams is perfect. 30 grams they found is the ideal amount of protein post-workout. Now, the best way to get protein into the bloodstream and into the muscles rapidly would be to take a whey protein isolate, which is a pretty much almost pure, pretty much almost digested form of protein. Your stomach doesn't have to need to do anything to it. It goes right through your stomach into your intestines and gets absorbed because it's broken down already. It's in a liquid form. Whey protein concentrates, casein proteins, these all have lactose added or casein. In this case of casein, it's thicker, it delays absorption through the stomach. You don't want to use these sources of protein. You want a whey protein, a whey isolate that has nothing else in it to get this protein machinery working, okay? I make a protein called Isolyze, as you can see right here. This is our cherry vanilla flavor. And Isolyze is a pure whey protein isolate. One scoop is 27 grams of protein out of a 30-gram scoop. There's no carbs and there's no fat in it. So it's about as pure as you can get, and no lactose in it, which is even better. And it tastes delicious, and that's always a plus. And you do one scoop of this or one and a little bit more, and you're gonna get your 30 grams of protein. Obviously a bigger bodybuilder, you might wanna do 2 scoops to get your 54 grams of protein. I know guys that do 67 grams. The truth of the matter is 30 grams is ideal. That's your minimum, okay? Now, a lot of people say, what about carbs? Everyone is big carbs, you gotta eat carbs. You need to release insulin. Believe it or not, carbohydrates and insulin release post-workout do not start the protein machinery working. Nothing to do with it. What does carbs do and what does spiking insulin do post-workout? All it does is what we call reglycogenate the muscles. In other words, when you work out and you burn glucose and you burn carbohydrates, your glycogen stores, which is the storage capacity of where glucose and carbs are stored in the muscle, gets diminished. So if you want to, after you work out, you want to replace that glycogen so that when you work out tomorrow, you got glycogen there. That's what carbohydrates are perfect for. And that's what insulin is. Insulin drives these carbohydrates into the muscle. So when we take in a carbohydrate replacement or a carbohydrate source post-workout, what we're doing is we're just reglycogenating the muscles. We're not building muscle. We're not repairing muscle. Protein builds and repairs muscle and starts that process, especially if it's an animal source. And then the carbs come in and reglycogenate the muscles, put the glycogen, the fuel source, back into your muscle cells. All right, what's the best source of carbohydrates? Well, back in the day, before there were any, high-tech carbohydrate supplements, we used sugar basically, grape juice, Gatorade. Nowadays, we have what's called high molecular weight carbohydrates. They're basically big, complex molecules that don't require digestion. Matter of fact, they transport themselves from the stomach into the bloodstream, into the muscles, quicker than sugar does, without the bloat, okay, and without the water retention you get from a lot of sugary drinks. And you don't get, you don't feel nauseous when you drink these things. Waxy maize, high weight amylopectin, Vitargo, Glycoject, glycocarn. There's a million different ones out there. All the high molecular weight carbohydrates do the same thing, essentially. Okay? The only so one person can say, oh, this one spikes insulin more than this one. We're talking about a 0.5% difference. All high molecular weight carbohydrates do the same thing. They spike insulin, they transport themselves through the stomach and into the muscle cells rapidly, more rapidly than sugar without the bloating. That's the advantage of them. All these different companies out there have different versions and they try to market theirs as the best. But the truth of the matter is that if I'm looking for the best high molecular weight carbohydrate, I'm going to look at number 1, cost, number 2, taste, and number 3, mixability. Now, what I did with my Species Nutrition Carbolyze is that I'm going to show you this. This is my new mango flavor, by the way, delicious. We micronized the high molecular weight carbohydrate. What that means is we've pulverized the granules so that it's almost a fine powder. You can see it almost looks like baby powder. Okay, that's a very fine powder. The reason we did that is when you mix it, it stays in solution. It doesn't clump at the bottom. The worst thing about a lot of these products is that they clump, and then when you're drinking it, half of it's still in the bottom of the cup. So this is micronized. Carbolyze is micronized, and because it's micronized, it mixes very easily, and I'm going to show you in a minute how easily it mixes, and you don't have to worry about clumping at all. A pure whey isolate, if it is pure, will mix also with your finger, and that's what we want. Easy mixability, easy solubility, easy absorbability. Now let's show you what we got here. I got my Species Nutrition, okay, blender bottle. This is brand new. You can buy this on speciesnutrition.com. And I got some water here. So I'm going to put a little bit of water. Now, a lot of people put more water. I'm not a big water drinker, so I'm only going to use about half a thing of water. I'm going to put my Carbolyze in it. You've got to be very careful when you have a micronized Carbolyze because it tends to go airborne. If you see this, there's like a dust cloud coming around here. And let's clean a little of this up here. And then I'm going to take 2 scoops of Isolyze because I am a bigger guy. Not as big as I used to be, but still big. So that's right there. That's 27 grams of protein. Here's another 27 grams of protein. That's 54 grams of protein. 1 scoop of Carbolyze is 40 grams of carbs, which is plenty for me. I'm not a humongous carb eater. Matter of fact, if you do too much high molecular weight carbohydrate, it's going to upset your stomach. Okay, so don't do more than 50 or 60 grams. I'm doing 40 with my 54 grams of protein in my blender bottle here. And I'm going to shake it a couple times. And as you can tell already, there's nothing clumping here. The Carbolyze went right into solution. There's nothing sitting on the bottom there. And that was on 2 shakes. Once again, micronized carbohydrates. That's the way to go. And of course, I got to taste my concoction I made here, as people like to call it. And it's delicious. I got to tell you, I'm not bragging because I made it, but we have the best flavoring system around. Cherry vanilla mixed with mango is outstanding. Give it a shot. Check out speciesnutrition.com for all your Species Nutrition products, and stay tuned for more of my informative videos coming weekly.